Welcome. I'm writing a play in 10 days. My name is Rio. I'm an actor. I'm based in London. And lately, I have really wanted to create my own work. Always kind of been a writer of sorts, or at least some kind of storyteller. And even though I haven't, professionally or properly written a full length or even just a piece of work before, I, in the last 6 months, have really felt the need to. And I've tried several times. I specifically want to share this because I'm very interested in the creative process. I often find myself seeking out or watching and listening to other artists about their journey through the making of something. And I'm also very interested in the milestones and the problems that arise when you are creating something. First of all, I'm writing a play in the next 10 days. Coming the 18th of October, I need to hand in my piece of work to my current, tutor, I maybe would say. I'm attending this writer's course, which is facilitated by Brian Mullen, a playwright, and it's in association with Theatre 503 in London. And they do all kinds of writers' programs and workshops, and this is a 5-session short play program specifically on how to write a short play. And if you're wondering, what's a short play? A short play is essentially a play that has the same arc as a full-length 1 hour or 1.5 hour play, but it all happens over the span of 10 minutes. So it's usually from start to finish one scene and quite few characters, 2 and 3 characters maybe max, 4 characters at the max. Now, I don't know if my idea is actually a short play or if I'm just using this for now as the propeller to the motor to let me get somewhere else. If that's a full-length play, I don't know. I've tried multiple times to have the perspective of this being a full-length play, but every time I get really intimidated because I haven't written a full-length play before, and having all of these characters and all of this time is very scary. As for now, and for the handout in 10 days, it's 10 minutes. And I have recorded actually a whole bunch about the process with this story 4-5 months ago that it never went anywhere simply because the play didn't go anywhere and I kind of met a wall in the creative process. So let's go and have a look at that. Now, I'm very excited. I think this is going to be incredibly difficult and really giving, and it's going to make me grow as a writer. It's going to make me grow as a performer, as someone who is determined to finish things. I'm determined to finish the things that I'm starting. Have I written a play before? Not really. Have I written stuff that have been produced by people and performed by people? Yes.
But we're on a journey, right? And our journey is to find interests. It's to follow down the line of interests, of fascination, because everything that you see as an artist, everything you experience, everything you feel, every conversation you have, everything you overhear or anything has a greater effect on your art. I am very well known to procrastinate and to not finish my projects because of fear. It's fear-based, and that's hard to admit to myself and to admit to an audience, but it is fear-based. I find myself being so insecure about my abilities, and my confidence is not as high as it used to be when I was younger, confidence in my art. And I find myself being increasingly scared of failing. So it doesn't matter actually if this turns out shit. The point is doing it. To move forward and continue doing it. That's the thing that matters.
I'm still very much wondering if, like, what the relationship of the people in the play is. I mean, I haven't even really started to explore their relationship or really anything about who they are or what they're doing there. I don't know, I haven't decided if they used to have some kind of romantic relation or if they are best friends or if they just happen to be in the same space because of their living situation. I don't know, but there is something very interesting about two people whose lives for a very long time, or at least for a period of time, had a significance growing together. Kind of like how trees that are planted too close together end up growing into one mass, sharing nutrients, sharing, stability during weather. That is, really like vulnerable and nice imagery, if you will. And we're back. My play is about two people in a guardianship building, and it's highly autobiographical. I used to be a property guardian when I first moved to London because I had no other choice, essentially. And I paid way too much for a room that was not worth it at all. And the sensation of not having a permanent place to live, even though you have a place to live, is very specific. And that's what inspired this. My process now. Where am I now? I've been doing lots of my own research as well. I've been reading a book by Stephen Jeffries, and that book has helped me tremendously in understanding form and building character and like what a three-dimensional character is. It doesn't necessarily speak about what will happen after it's finished, but I'm not interested in that right now. I can't think of that before it's done, because if you have too much focus on how it will end, you lose the process of getting there, and then you have no play. I now have established two characters, and the form of the play is from start to finish, the 10 or 30 minutes, however long it ends up being, when the building that they live in, that they've shared, is being demolished. And when you're writing a short play, let me see if I can do this while also holding the mic. When you're writing a short play, you need to make sure that everything that has happened previously in this story makes sense and also kind of drips through the scene that you have here, the play that you have, the piece of work. So say Mel's and Alice's story is really this big. This is when they met. This is everything that has happened from start to finish. In a traditional play, you might choose to have like scenes that show parts of their journey together. So you have a scene here, and then something happens, so you have another scene here, and then you have a third scene here, and then it keeps going like that. And then you can put more characters into the story and have more scenes. I want for them to have all of this, but the only thing that happens on stage is this. You need to be able to sit in the audience and feel all of the rest here, right? To feel all of this and to know, maybe not all details, but know that this has existed. All of their story informs this very, very small part of their story. And that's hard. Meaning I have to define all of their story before I feel like I can actually get into it, And then I need to figure out a beginning and an end. And I need to redraft all of it like several times. Are you flexing back? I'm meeting some problems, well, not problems, but just points of like I'm writing myself into corners a little bit, and then I'm going, this conversation has gotten away from me. What I sought out to do was to bridge the gap between A and B, right? To have like something that goes into it. Or at least what I want from this short play is that there is one cohesive through line, and you like the conversation shifts. It kind of just like flows like a river, and you don't really realize that we're not talking about the same thing, or the same thing isn't happening anymore until it is happening. And then you go, oh, we've now moved somewhere else, and I wasn't even really fully aware of it. Maybe in this first draft, it's not super necessary for me to know or be aware or consciously want that in a way. Maybe what's enough is for me to get the bare bones of what's happening down on the page from A to Z, you know? I've been thinking about the theatrical image that I'm interested in, but theatrical images are images that inform both story and character in a way that is both symbolical and metaphorical and physical in space. And a good example of this is in Saltburn, if anyone has watched that film. The scene after the death and the family sitting in the dining room having lunch, and the window or the curtains have been drawn and the curtains are red, and so everyone is bathed in this like really like soft kind of mystical magical red light, and they're eating and trying to have like a conversation as if nothing has happened, and the sister is drinking red wine, but she is like basically pouring it like into her mouth and down herself, but it's dripping on the left side of her chest, meaning the white dress is like drenched in red wine, so it looks like her heart is like bleeding out of her chest, which is essentially what is happening to like in the inner world of the character, right? Like such powerful images. And if I think about the images that I'm interested in for this play, I'm thinking about like paint and what it is to like paint something and cover something and then uncover something, and like the act of making something new of something else. It's like in writing you need to constantly be looking for ways for these people to brush up against each other in a way. But it's also very important for me to have tenderness between them. In my program, I handed in like a homework, so a page of work. And I found it so interesting because the way that I had written these characters were to be tender with each other, like to be kind with each other, but they're talking about like difficult things. And they're like trying to get to the bottom of things, but they're also hurting each other's feelings. And like, it's this like conflict way of talking to each other while still wanting to continue the conversation. But when people were reading it out loud, the way that they were reading it, because those were the words on the page without any of my background of the characters or how I'm visualizing them saying these lines, it came off as like really aggressive and really like quite like a serious fight, rather than just like two people sitting opposite each other and like trying to get to the bottom of something. Okay, let's do a session. Let's do 25 minutes. I do think I actually did get somewhere there. It's like it takes 10 minutes of me staring at the screen going, what is going on here? It's so hard. Like it's really hard to have a restriction of like 1,500 words. Because I know that even if I really like everything that I have here, that shit is gonna get cut down. At least for this purpose, and then I might put it back in later. I did a workshop with Cordelia Lynn, also a really great playwright. I did that workshop, it was like a 3-part workshop in June. And she said something that I like continue to remember, and we were talking about boredom and the fact that like as a writer, a lot of the time you have to be very comfortable in being bored, and you have to allow yourself to be bored. A lot of the writing process is not to sit down and like intensely write. Probably about 50% is to like stare at the empty page. It's like you have to let your brain fill in the gaps in a way. And if you never allow yourself to be bored and never allow yourself to like sit in the quiet and the silence with kind of all your stuff laid in front of you going, how do I move forward from this? You're not gonna generate any ideas in a way. I remember when I was in school and I was doing exams, specifically when it came to like maths, I remember sitting in these exam rooms and having to like skip over lots of the questions. The idea was if I skip over the question and then let it ruminate in my brain, like in the back of my brain, while I'm doing other things, I can go back to those questions that I skipped over, and maybe my brain has like been working on them subconsciously. And I'm kind of applying the same idea to this, where I'm like, I have gaps in the story, I have gaps in the character, I have gaps in the backstory that I don't understand yet. And it's like the puzzle pieces I'm trying to fit together. And there are ways that these fit together that I don't understand yet, but I can't sit and just stare at them. It is a 2:15, so, well, 2:15, and it's a Friday. And I would love to like sit down and relax with my partner and like watch a film tonight, or, you know, have the weekend to relax. Like I'm earning money freelance, meaning I have periods of like lots of work and then periods of no work, and I'm in a period of no work, and so I'm trying out new things. But a thing that I'm learning about not having kind of a set weekly structure is that the weekend doesn't really exist anymore. Like I can take rest days, like weekend days, on a Tuesday or a Thursday, and it just really depends on what I have upcoming. I've been thinking about character lots. The fact that I have background in acting, like I have a degree in acting, and I've been acting since I was like 3. And I think the foundation for like creating character through that lens is really good. But I do think it functions slightly differently. Obviously, when you get a play and you are assigned a character in that play, there are certain ways to mine information from the text that I obviously can't apply to this sort of project, simply because the text doesn't exist yet. I'm the one who makes the text. And it's like my characters talk a lot with each other, and I feel like I have quite a realistic way of people speaking to each other, which is good. Like I write dialogue in a way that feels naturalistic and snappy and makes sense. My biggest challenges are being concise, finding actions, and making the characters do things and want things. Like immediately when I know what they want in any given moment, that's when things start to like unfold, you know? And I'm like excited to like have written something, you know? She's so cute. I need to mention the painting, but I need to bridge it in a way that isn't like, you know? currently 5:45. Yeah, 5:45. And I'm getting somewhere. Yeah, okay. I'm like looking at it and I'm going, okay. This works very much like a painting in a way. Of like you need to put the basis layer down first and then add on top of it. So it's like I'm laying down the base layer and then I'll go in and add things or alter things. This is, wait, okay, let's just do a little check-in. 2,000 words. 2,200 words. 2,000 words is not that bad. I thought it was going to be like 4,000. 2,000 words is not that bad. That's, yeah, we're like 700 words more, which is fine because I'm like faffing around. I have news. Okay, yesterday I worked for a couple of hours and I finished the first draft. Crazy. It's currently 11 pages long, probably about double the length of what it can be for the hand-in on Friday. It's Monday, okay? I'm actually really proud of myself for finishing the draft. I set out that today, Monday, I was going to have the first draft finished so I can print it all out, lay it in front of me, start doing physical edits. Because I have this thing where if it's on a screen and I'm like trying to get the big picture, trying to order things around, trying to, make it a cohesive story that makes sense, but also doesn't drop things in too quickly or doesn't leave anything to the end, like any exposition to the end, stuff like that. Or to see like what fits and what doesn't, what can I cut. I can't do it on a screen. Because if I do it, like I can't get the full picture. If I can only see 1 or 2 pages at once, I need all of it at once to see where the switches are, where the changes are. I'm going to walk to the library, see if they can print it out for me. So, in this rough hour and a half, what can I possibly do to this play, the 7-page play, that would improve it? I'm gonna focus on 2 things, okay? The first one being stakes. I need the outer pressures and time constraints and the inner pressures to overlap and become clearer. The second thing I want to focus on is like simply dialogue and subtext. I have a thing where basically the first thing I write is always quite boring and straight to the point, and characters saying I think and I want, and just being quite straightforward with each other. And don't get me wrong, like that's how I wished that I communicated. But I understand that dramatic tension doesn't necessarily exist between people who are great communicators. Let's just get to work. I'm actually really impressed. Reading it again makes me go, this might actually be something, I don't know. Also, another thing that needs to happen is I need like an index, because I'm using lots of punctuation to indicate to the actors how to perform it, or how to use the text and mind the text. Instead of a pause or a break, I just have the names. So each line starts with either one of them indicating where the focus of the pause is. I'm also using slashes, indicates interruption. And then a dash indicates a thought break. What is to be done? What is that to be done? What is that to be done? There's something weird about the bottom half of page 5. It's kind of like working up to the big reveal. I think the height and focus of the play is the big action. The thing that comes immediately after is a bit weird to me. Like, it's a bit like me, 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 me. Like, big shit has just happened. They've just done shit to each other, you know? Like, they cannot come back from that. And now we're like conversationally talking again. But I'm gonna be so honest, I don't have the time or the skills to fix that right now. I'm gonna have to let it be bad. Sink prop up against the wall, a pattern of copper pipes protruding from the back wall leading... Oh, wall, and ending both sentences. And it's done. 8 minutes before time. And I've done it. Oh! I wrote the play and it looks really official. Whoa! What am I supposed to do now?
Leading water into the rest of the building. Half-finished paintings all around with paint cans. So I really, really liked this. I thought it was really well done and it felt really evocative and it felt really sort of earthy and real and raw and I really liked that about it.
Taken out, or I need an extra transition here to help how this works.
It's been a couple of days since the hand-in, and I've had some time to reflect, both on this process, writing a play in 10 days, and also just the last session, all the feedback and everything. It's currently laying at, well, the latest draft is at about 1,600 words. For me, this is way too... It's the story itself cannot be contained to 10 minutes. And I knew that when I was going into this project. And yeah, I could have, you know, followed the rules and come up with a story that does suit a 10-minute performance, or does suit like a short 1,500 word kind of contained script. And then I also really like to break rules. I don't like to follow instruction. And it's really highlighted for me the necessity of a writers group. I'm simply talking about a writers group that meet maybe every month. You and friends, or you and other professionals that you know, just coming together and sharing work, knowing that you have like a monthly deadline, that if you need to get something done, it's for that purpose, is incredibly helpful. Also, I got a haircut. It's still long, but it's structured now. Lots of people had some really nice things to say about my piece. They said it was really intimate, and how even though it felt really like big in a way, it also was very like connected. Some people said, yeah, this was one of my favorite pieces, blah, blah, blah. And then I also got lots of feedback on like, oh, this felt really out of place, and like, oh, I didn't really understand why they were talking about this, and this felt a bit long-winded, and this, which I completely 100% understand. Now, the improvements that have to be made, because there has to be loads. First of all, there is a significant amount of confusion when it comes to the text. Very understandable. I wrote it in 10 days. I'm not sharing enough information in the right way or at the right time for people to be with me when they read it. I'm also gonna make significant changes in perhaps, well, the length, first of all. There are lots of things that I cut that I'm now gonna add back in and make it way longer. But I do think overall this has been a really, really nice experience for me. A thing that these 10 days really pushed forward for me is that there is literally no way for me to move forward with a story or with writing if I do not sit down and write. That's a shocking revelation, isn't it? And I think what it's also taught me is that sometimes you just have to sit and stare. But I think that I didn't expect was to like the editing process so much. A couple of days before the final session, I spent most of my time editing. So like printing out the pages. I mean, you've seen it. You saw it. It's really hot in here now, actually. This all or nothing mentality of like, either I do it perfectly the first time or I don't do it at all. It's just really damaging. And it's not helpful for anyone. It's not helpful for me. It's not helpful for anyone who's, going to receive whatever I have written, because they're not going to receive it because I won't have written anything. Plays need layers. They need to be layered in a way that can't happen in this direction. It has to happen in this direction. And the only way this can happen is if you layer drafts on top of each other. So I'm excited about kind of having a focus of a longer piece and just kind of tinkering with it. I think my goal, since it's late October, I think my goal is to have like a finished draft by the end of December. So by the end of this year, to have a finished like first draft of the full text. I'm going to sign off now. I hope you have a very creative week. I hope you start or finish a project, and I hope you find fulfillment and joy. Okay, I'm gonna go eat some nuts and edit this video. Bye!